Let's go!
SNM Sports, it's not what you think. SNM Sports, it's not what you think. SNM Sports, it's not what you think.
Welcome, I'm Scotty.
And I'm Mikey. And together we are SNM Sports. All right. Welcome, everybody. How you doing this morning or this evening or wherever you are at listening to us? Appreciate it if it's in your car. If you're at work already, on your way home, we appreciate you tuning in for sure.
Thank you.
Definitely. Now you can catch us on iTunes, Google Play, and on SoundCloud on SoundCloud every week, or Clue too if you have that app as well. Maybe we'll be on that one too. So definitely, we're definitely going to focus more now on a podcast as opposed to YouTube. Definitely, you'll be able to see us on YouTube or not see us, but it'll be up there anyways. But definitely make sure you subscribe to SoundCloud, subscribe to Google Play, or subscribe to iTunes. Get that notification. If there's any other question about where we're at, www.snmsports.com has everything that you need.
Yes. Check it out.
All right, so let's go on to our fantasy football forum.
Yes, all right. 544.
544, and that's first. We're gonna go into our house.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah, of course. So this week in the family league, I played my sister, the fantasy goddess. She is now 0-3, while I am 2-1. Scotty played her husband.
He was 2-0.
And now he's 2-1.
Yep.
I pretty much destroyed my sister. Unfortunately, she had Matt Ryan and Calvin Ridley on her bench.
Yeah.
So she left 80 points on her bench this week.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's tough.
It stinks, of course. You know, she had Tom Brady, and so she was going to start Tom Brady, even though he had a not so Tom-like game this week. But, you know, it sucks to see all those points sitting on your bench and then losing by 50 on top of it, where if she would have started those two players, she would have handily beaten me this week. And so I appreciate, you know, Tom Brady doing his thing. Now, obviously, Scotty now is 2-1. He got that win. He played, Gang Green, who was 2-0 and now is 2-1. And, you know, a 14-point win is a win, whether it's, 1 point, 14 points, 20 points. It's still a win. That's for sure.
Yeah, I had Garoppolo in that, but he still outscored Aaron Rodgers. So that was great. His receivers didn't show up. He had Tyreek Hill, Diggs, and Nunwa, and they all got 5 points or less. My receivers, Michael Thomas had 12.9. Will Fuller showed up. Ty had so-so. And then my flex was Cooks for the Rams, and he had 9. So those are what put me over the top because his wide receivers didn't show up for him.
And that's crazy, too, that Aaron Rodgers Garoppolo scored more than Rodgers, and Garoppolo didn't even finish the game.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But who would have thought that in Buffalo? Was it Buffalo that they played? No, Minnesota played Buffalo. So Green Bay, they lost as well. So
right, to Washington.
To Washington, thank you. And nobody thought that Washington was going to play that kind of defense this week.
I thought so. Pigskin pick him a little bit later.
Oh, geez. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. But one thing I want to point out to everybody is the guy who's number 1 in our league, Mr. Appropriate. He is 3-0, and he is on the bottom of the waiver wire, but he's made the most moves so far.
Yes, he has.
He's made 8 moves. Scotty's made 5, and I've made 4. And there's a reason why he's in first, because he's made all those moves to stay there. It's like we were talking about last week in the show, is that you can't get complacent whether you're 2-0, 1-2 or 0-2.
Nope.
You cannot, and this man definitely is not staying with the team he has. I was looking to upgrade it, and there he is sitting at the top. And he scored the most points, too. And he scored the most points in the league. And luckily, his points against is the lowest in the league as well. So he's lucking out each week with his matchups. And he's putting the right people in to win. So there's all those things that have to fall in place. And he's 3-0.
Right. That's definitely working out for him. And I'm looking at mine right here. And mine are almost even. My points for and points against, there's only a 2-point difference. But I'm 2-1.
Yep, exactly.
So I kind of lucked out myself.
And I'm lucky that I'm scoring so many points because my points, for and points against, it's 40 points off, but they're both over 300, which is quite a bit through
Yeah,
3 weeks so far, which means that, I'm averaging over 100 and the people I'm playing is averaging over 100. And this is obviously a high scoring league. For me to score 130, Mr. Appropriate scored 155. I mean, that's quite a bit. But there also were a lot of high scoring games this week, too, when it came to
true.
fantasy.
A lot of touchdowns.
Yeah, a lot of touchdowns thrown. All right, so on to our SNM Sports League. So, yes, guess what? It happened, folks.
To Caddy Scotty.
Got the big win against me this week.
Yeah.
You
Pulled it out. It came down to the last game, right?
It did. I had Connor and you had Antonio Brown.
And it was only a few, 4-point difference, I think, going into it. Something like that.
Yeah, it was only 4 points that you were up, and then you ended up winning by, I think, 7.
Yeah.
Because Connor, in the end, got some garbage time yardage, which Pittsburgh needed to do because Tampa Bay was coming back, and they wanted to just run the clock out against them, which did end up working in Roethlisberger's favor, or Pittsburgh's favor.
Yeah.
So that's why Connor ended up getting as much yardage or many points as he did. So obviously the standings, Scotty is still undefeated, and he's the only undefeated in this league. I myself am 2-1, and then Conan lost, so he's no longer undefeated. He's tied with my sister on the other side of the bracket, and they're both 2-1 on that side. So all right, on to our next section is...
Let's get saucy.
All right, so who is the hot sauce this week, Scotty, and who is tasting mild?
Got a hot and mild sauce. All right, quarterback-wise, Matt Ryan's the hot sauce this week. 5 touchdowns last week. Playing at home again against Cincinnati this week. There's a good chance he might get 5 more this week.
That's very real, too, because Cincinnati, they've been winning games, but they've been giving up a lot of points.
Right, they're playing like Tampa Bay. Like there's several teams out there that have been doing that type of thing. Pittsburgh, even Atlanta themselves.
Yeah.
So I mean, even Andy Dalton's probably a good, almost hot sauce pick this week. Yeah, Matt Ryan, definitely hot sauce with Calvin Ridley, 3 touchdowns, breakout game for that kid, first round pick. They were hoping everything they were hoping for. He came out in that game. You got Julio, you got Sanu, and now you got Ridley, and I mean that, every weapon a quarterback wants. And so I really like Matt Ryan as our hot sauce this week.
Definitely, I agree 100%. Really onto our mild sauce this week for our QBs, and that's Tom Brady. They're playing Miami.
Yep.
Miami's defense is really looking solid this year.
Yeah, division game.
They're undefeated. I mean, even if New England wins this game, they still have less wins than Miami will. And that doesn't even seem real,
right.
At all. I mean, for the fact that Miami's undefeated, I mean, I didn't see that a mile coming. Another thing, too, is that a division game, Miami always plays New England tough. And so if you have Tom Brady and you've got other options, you might want to look at Matt Ryan or look at Goff or look at Dalton that's out there for this week because they have better matchups than Brady does this week. I mean, this is one of those weeks where you are situationally would sit Brady to put one of these other guys in as a better matchup because they lost last week, but the other thing with that too, losing to Detroit, is that Matt Patricia already knew how to beat New England. He's been there for years,
right.
And I think that Miami's playing them enough, going to watch the tape from last week, and then they're going to shut down Brady again.
Right.
And so that's why he's our mild sauce quarterback for this week.
That's definitely a good point. Yeah. Next up, running backs. Hot sauce this week is Carlos Hyde. He last week on Thursday is his birthday. He just went out there, scored 2 touchdowns, the game winner. Then he went to the hospital right after the game and had a baby. So that was a pretty good day for him, if you'd say. And
he gets Oakland this week, right?
Yeah, and then he gets Oakland, and Oakland's run defense is suspect. So
But why is that, Scotty? Why is Oakland's run defense suspect?
I don't know. They ghost ride the Mack truck down the street and and then just let it go away. And then thankfully Chicago found that Mack truck and
Because the Bears needed him this week, that's for sure.
Inserted him right in the lineup. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that Oakland defense just looks porous without him. So many holes, and I think he could easily run rapid, over Oakland. And really, this is the other side of that too. Is that Baker Mayfield? This is his first start where he's going to actually start for Cleveland. He's got legs under him too, which is going to open up the field. And he's got an arm, which he showed that when he came in last week, and he can throw downfield.
Yeah, he's got a zing on it, and he's really precise out there. But yeah, he's going to need to have a good running game for him to be able to do those passes. So, and I think obviously there's not much better than Carlos Hyde, and I love the way the kid runs. He's only 28.
And then on to our mouse sauce for this week. On the other side of it, Leonard Fournette, coming back from injury.
Right.
And he gets the Jets defense.
Yeah,
right?
It's a tough defense to come back to.
I mean, fantasy-wise, the Jets defense is one of the top defenses. I think they're top 5, if not top 10 for sure.
Yeah, run defense too, yeah.
And then, run defense, they're really solid. And really just giving the chance for the rookie quarterback on the other side of the field or other side of the ball to win. So this really, with all the things considered, they'll probably ease Fournette back in. TJ Yeldon will probably get more snaps than he will in the following week.
Yep.
And so I definitely think this is not a good play for you by any means.
Yeah.
So that's our mild sauce for running backs for the week. And on to our hot sauce and wide receivers. And Scotty, I know you love this guy. You've got him in one of your leagues. I think you're really all in on him on the other side for Houston, and that's Will Fuller.
Yeah, he's awesome. To me, I know Hopkins is a beast. Hopkins, top 3 receiver in the league, arguably. But Will Fuller complements him so well. As long as he's healthy and out there, I play him in all my fantasy DFS leagues. But I love having him on my fantasy team. He's a no-brainer starter every week. And definitely this week playing Indy's defense isn't that great. It's a division game. And Deshaun's finally finding him, finding his sweet spot, if you say, however you want to say it. He's finally getting in tone, getting back into game shape, and finding his receivers like he should be.
So on to our mild sauce for wide receiver this week. That is Adam Thielen. He's definitely the one we actually talked at the beginning of the season. We downgraded both Thielen and Diggs because we weren't sure who was going to be the number one.
Right.
And Scotty said it, though, back when we were talking about it, he was leaning more toward Thielen as being the number one in that team. And he is so far through 3 weeks. Thielen is that number one so far. Yeah. It's not by a lot of points, but
it's hard, Kirk Cousins has got those weapons, but yeah, somebody had to, get the ball a little bit more than the other. I didn't think, he would run away and Diggs would be like, where am I? How come I don't get the ball? I mean, Diggs is the one getting the commercials. Thielen isn't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's only 3 points. The average is 14 for Thielen and 11 for Diggs. There's only a 3-point difference.
Yeah.
But, that could be the difference between a win and a loss for you in any week.
True.
And so, you just kind of look back to what we told you. We downgraded them, but if you're going to pick one, pick Thielen. And so far, through 3 weeks, we have been correct. But for this week, we got him as a mild because he's facing that Rams defense.
A tough Rams D.
Man, and they've looked good so far this year. Which actually takes us to our pigskin pick'em for the week.
Yep.
All right, so then this week we had quite a few really solid picks and quite a few duds as well. But once again, we got to give it up.
That name at the top of that list there.
See, he can't even allow me to give him the props. He's got to jump in and cut me off because he just can't help himself that he is on the top for this week. Scotty Tuhati, Scotty
You
Takati.
forgot that word again.
What's
Again.
that? Again.
On
Again
top
this week.
again.
Again this week. Actually, no, you didn't. You haven't won it. This is your first week winning it so
Well,
far. You're on top for the year,
Technically,
but this is the first week that you've actually won it outright.
You're right.
And you won
Yeah.
this week because obviously Michael won last week, and then Tulani won it on the coin flip. The week
I almost
before.
picked the final score too, the tiebreaker.
Oh, that's right. You were so close to
30,
it.
30 to 27 was the final. I picked 30 to 24.
Yeah, so you definitely would have won. If anybody would have tied with you, you would have won on the tiebreaker of the final score.
Right.
But Scotty started out the week the way you want. He got a win on Thursday night.
It was my
and
first Thursday win too.
It was his first Thursday win, but the best part is that him and Pops were the only two to pick the Cleveland upset. He must have saw Baker.
Speaking of first win,
Oh, I know, right? And that's true. And that's true, Scotty. Another thing is he got his first one on Thursday. Cleveland Browns opened up the Bud Light, and that was flowing Thursday night.
Right.
And they got their first win, and Jesus Mayfield came in.
Number one pick.
Oh, man, number one pick, and showed why he got picked that high, or picked at number one.
Came back to get his first win.
Yeah, true. He had to come back and win that game. And so that's really what set him and Pops off from the rest of the field, was taking that Cleveland game and getting that first win. A couple other notable picks as far as against the field. Matt Harris obviously plays Walter on Just Jackie. And then we got Chargers to the Super Bowl. Those two gentlemen picked the Saints to upset Atlanta, which really was an upset in our books.
Yeah.
And the only two people to pick that win this week.
That was a good pick.
But definitely was a good pick, and nobody saw that game. It was a close game. It came down to the end.
Right,
Atlanta,
Drew Brees.
Yeah, definitely. You can never count out Drew Brees in that sense. And the other sort of notable picks, again, Matt Harris playing Walter. He with Michael, who plays Marcus in Just Jackie. Those guys both picked the Giants to upset Houston.
Yeah.
Again, Houston is now defeated, 0-3. The Giants finally got their win because that was the battle of the undefeateds up until, or the battle of the defeated up until that point. So hats off to those two gentlemen. And that New York Giants pick. Of course, Matt is a Giants fan. If you all don't know that already, that's kind of what kept him in the running. But then he did the unthinkable. And we always like to call out those folks that pick against the Chicago Bears. And he picked Arizona along with Tulani, our winner from week 1. And they lost that pick. And that really knocked him out of the running in that sense.
Right.
Picking that Arizona. Obviously, if the game ended after the first quarter, they were spot on, right?
Yeah.
14-3. But, in the end, that didn't work out for them at all. A couple other picks that didn't work out so well for folks. Our Chargers to the Super Bowl. A gentleman, he picked San Diego to beat the Rams. I guess he had to go for his hometown favorite. But unfortunately,
Yeah, that didn't pan out too well.
not at all. He was the only one to pick that pick, so that really hurt them this week. The other pick that really sunk Pops. Pops looking so well, throughout the day. But he ended up picking Cincinnati to beat Carolina, and Carolina obviously won that game. And that really hurt Pops. If he had picked that game, he would have tied with Scotty for the week, but then Scotty would have won on the tiebreaker anyways. And then Matt, we were talking about Matt a lot this week. Matt went with the Colts against Philadelphia. I know that they were, they were in Philly, and so it really was an upset pick as far as that was concerned.
Right.
And he went for it. You got to go for those picks.
Yeah.
And if it panned out, that would have been huge for him. Matt would have been tied with Scotty for the lead had that pick panned out for him. And instead it was a 2-point swing for Scotty in that sense, by the way that worked out for him. And then, of course, we got our dab master, Jesse Cooper, and then Nikki, our executive producer. They went with the upset, San Francisco against Kansas City, which San Francisco was coming back
Right.
until Garoppolo got hurt. It was really a close game up
Yeah.
until that happened. Because KC scored a lot in the beginning and then kind of slowed down toward the end of the game.
Little, yeah.
Yeah, they definitely did. Where the 49ers defense stepped up and started playing some good ball. But, when your quarterback goes down, it's tough unless you have Baker Mayfield to come in and win the game for you.
Right.
But speaking of, Jesse and, our dab master out there, we definitely got to give him up for this pick, which I think was the epic pick of the week. He was the only person.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Take the Lions over New England. It's crazy. They did it, though.
They did it. It must have been that hometown that he gave him. Being at home, maybe he decided he was going to give him the hometown edge there. And definitely Jesse went out on a limb, and it was a huge pick for him. To me, really, so far, out of all 3 weeks, I feel that pick, the Detroit Lions, who are 0-2 up until this point, looking to go, defeated again, another defeated season, playing New England, who always finds a way to win. Matt Patricia, did you even think he was going to get his first win against New England? Like, there's so many things about that pick that I felt was really epic, for him to do that and go out on a limb and take them. And they showed up and they won that game and definitely defeated New England. So give up to Jesse Cooper. Great job with that pick, man. All right, so then on to our standings for the year so far. Scotty's on top. He's on top. There's 4 people chasing him right now that are down 2 points. Pops, Matt, Jesse, and Michael. And then you've got myself way down the bottom. You have to keep scrolling down to even see my name. I'm right now 5 points away from Scotty in the lead. But if we're looking at our weekly pick pool, or weekly picks that Scott and I do against each other, right now for the month of September, Scotty has 27, I have 20. So Scotty has to completely have a huge brain fart, or whatever you want to call it. I need to pick every upset, pick every game right. And we have buys this week, so it means we have less games to pick now, which makes it even tougher. So I've got a lot of work to do this week for me to even try to get close to Scotty for the week.
Percentage, too. Whoa.
Yep, Scotty's got 94% win percentage right now, which is huge. But he's only 2 points ahead from 4 other people. So,
right.
We'll see how he goes forward, if he can separate himself even more. All right, so around the world in sports. And
around the world and I.
And I can't find my baby. I don't know why the Cubs can't keep winning. Oh,
I know.
man.
What are they're trying to... Nothing. I'm not even going to say it. Try to... Yeah.
I mean, they just have to win 2 more games and at least clinch a wild card spot. Obviously, we want them to win the division.
Yeah.
So obviously we'll have 2 more games played from the time we're recording to the time this is airing. So hopefully by the time this airs, the Cubs will have definitely completed that wild card race. But if they don't, I got to say that the first thing is the American League. That was wrapped up 2 nights ago. Or 3 nights ago, really. Obviously, Boston, Cleveland, and Houston, took the top spots.
Houston, back-to-back 100-win seasons.
Oh, man, it's scary. And the Boston at 106 right now,
Right.
That really is huge. And obviously, the Yankees, and, hey, the Oakland A's, man.
Yeah, they got in.
They got in, and that, to me, is probably the most exciting of all the teams.
You called that
made
one, man. You were feeling them early.
What's funny is that we were totally sleeping on them, and then I woke up realizing what they were doing and made a run. And I'm glad that they were able to, outlast Tampa Bay, because Tampa Bay,
95 wins, man. They deserve to be in there.
Oh, definitely. They could, in the Central, AL Central, they would have won the division over Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland would be on top of New York if that was the situation. But yeah, the fact they got 95 win, and really, one of the things that's interesting for Oakland is that they're the first team to make it into the playoffs, having started this season with the lowest payroll in Major League Baseball. And that's something to be said for this team. that they, to give up to their GM. I mean, obviously he knows what he's doing with low payrolls
Right.
over there, and he works magic. But that I think is the true test of to Moneyball in that sense. People want to knock the statistics, and the NBA want to knock him as well, but it works. I mean, the lowest payroll, and they had 95 wins, and they got that wild card, and they clinched it, and then we're not even done with the week. So I think that is huge. Then, of course, you get into the National League, and oh man, the only team that is clinched so far is the Atlanta Braves, and they haven't even hit 90 wins yet. The Cubs are at 91, and they haven't solidified the Central or the wild card spot, where the East is so bad that Atlanta is 9.5 games up on Washington, and it really was an afterthought anyways. But Atlanta's clinched, so they're going to the playoffs. What's interesting, though, is that this could easily come down to the final game of the year.
Right.
Where the Dodgers in Colorado, it's 1.5 games back, at the time that we're recording this. And so they could easily be playing at the end of this weekend or on Monday, and the Dodgers and Rockies will be playing for that spot. Because really mathematically, there's no way that either Colorado or the Dodgers are going to surpass, the St. Louis Cardinals to get that. I'm sorry, the Brewers or the Cardinals to get that wild card spot. So Rockies have to beat the Dodgers to get into the playoffs. The Dodgers have kind of been slipping too. So that's, I guess, exciting, is that baseball is going to come down to that last game.
Last game.
Which is exciting. What sucks is, though, the Brewers and the Cards are playing such good baseball right now that, the Brewers could overtake the Cubs, and the Cubs could end up playing the Cardinals in the wild card game to even get into the actual playoffs.
Yeah.
And so that truly is sad. All right, so on to the man of the weekend, though. As many upsets has happened in football this weekend, as much baseball that was played,
Right.
I think the biggest storyline of this past weekend had to be Tiger Woods.
Yeah, he did it.
Oh, man. I mean, did you see those crowds following this guy? I mean, it was just unbelievable. It looked like Tiger of yesteryear. Like, those crowds
Right.
were just mobbing him and following him around, towards those last holes as he was creeping in, because he really had to fight off to win that. He started the day, he was 2 ahead. He was 2 ahead. And really that first hole, he set the tone and got a birdie in that first hole and kind of increased that lead to 4 shots over McIlroy and Rose, who McIlroy had actually partnered with. And so he ended up losing some ground throughout the day, went down to 2 over for the lead when he bogeyed on the 16th, where Horschel, who ended up getting second, was already in the clubhouse. So a little bit of nerves, which then made those last 2 holes exciting, which is why that crowd ended up following him in. All right, so on to some preseason and preseason rankings. Obviously, we're looking forward here to the NHL and NBA start of their seasons. But first, let's get into the NBA. And obviously, look at the power rankings. Nobody's played a game yet. Just kind of looking at the moves that teams have made and whatnot. And really, obviously, we all know Golden State's number 1, Boston is 2, Houston is 3. There's no surprises there. But what I think is the most interesting thing is not really a surprise, but I think that kind of solidifies that 4th spot when looking at power rankings is that move of Kawhi Leonard to the Toronto Raptors.
And that makes him a number 4. And they got a new coach. I don't know about that. What do you think?
I mean, I think Kawhi Leonard is that much of a game changer in basketball that he could have went, to the Detroit Pistons and they could have been ranked 4. Because he's that good of a player. He's going to make everybody else that good around him. But the fact that Toronto really had a lot of good pieces. I mean, they traded, DeRozan to get Kawhi, so they lost their cornerstone, but then they could get their cornerstone of the future. So I do get concerned when, a new coach comes in. That definitely could hurt them. or it could just change the way they do things. You got a new coach, you got a new number one in Kawhi Leonard. I think that really could make a difference.
Well, yeah, and how he fits in with everybody else, how that all meshes together is going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And you get into the number 5 is Oklahoma City Thunder. I think that they definitely did a great job by getting rid of Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
I think that was almost would boost them up in the in the rankings just because I feel like he's a liability. But he goes to Houston and he's finally relinquishing his starting role to coming
Right.
off the bench, which is where he needs to be.
And he might even play more minutes off the bench. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely, and quality minutes, right?
Right.
And so I think that was smart on Houston's part, because when he first got traded, he said, "I'm going to decide when I'm going to come off the bench," and now the coach and him had a conversation, and I think that's the smartest thing for that franchise and for Carmelo, because he's past his prime. He was never as dominant as he was in college. It really was a one and done anyways. And in college you don't focus so much on defense as you do in the NBA.
Right.
And on to the NHL. So, man, with NHL, it's exciting to see hockey. We've talked a lot about NHL versus the NFL. And luckily, the NFL games have been so exciting where I haven't been paying as much attention to NHL's preseason. But I was almost ready to start inching my way over to the NHL. Although the amount of roughing the passer calls and flags that have happened could
Right.
kind of dampen my experience as we go along. With NHL, we get into the preseason rankings, and number 1 is Tampa Bay Lightning. They were a hyped up pick last year. They did go deep in the playoffs. Obviously, the Cinderella story took them out in the end. But for them to be number 1, it's no surprise. I don't see there's any reason why they shouldn't be number 1 at that point. But I think the biggest surprise, looking at the top 5, is the team 2 and 3, the Nashville Predators and Winnipeg Jets. Now we know the Predators got in the playoffs. The Jets did as well. I guess what people are looking at is that they're going to make huge jumps, this year, because the Predators looked horrible in the playoffs. I mean, they just fizzled out so quickly, and then the Winnipeg Jets, they've got a solid core, solid team. I love watching the Jets. I love Bufflin, so it's exciting to watch him,
Yeah.
skid on the ice because he's definitely an impact player.
Buff is the stuff.
He is, but really on that team, unless those younger guys start playing well, all they have is Bufflin.
Yeah.
It's
tough.
Yeah, so I think that to me, those two are really surprising. That those folks that are putting the odds out there are really high on them. At number 4, Washington Capitals. That's why surprised the Stanley Cup champs. You got to put them up there. And then look at the top 5. Rounding that out is my second favorite team. The Vegas Golden Knights. The most exciting thing about them for me is that they've got cap space and they got a GM that is going out there and wanting to sign, big name players to upgrade their roster. They've made actually quite a few moves in this offseason, which I think is great. And to me, if I was going to go to Vegas and bet, I would put my money on Vegas to win it all this year. I just think that, the experience that team got, even though it's their first season, now they have a second season to play together. The core is pretty much still there. They're still looking to bring in some big names, which would be great to impact. But I feel like the Vegas Golden Knights could easily, win their first cup in year 2.
Right. They almost did it in 1.
Yeah, crazy. All right, folks. Well, don't forget, like we mentioned before, subscribe to our iTunes, subscribe to SoundCloud or Google Play, wherever you get your streaming from. Our podcast is up there now, and that's what we'll be focusing our efforts on. You can obviously also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. But really, if you're not sure where to go to our website.
Right. SNMsports.com.
That's right. That's www.snmsportz.com. And there you'll find everything you need and want for SNM Sports.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, thanks so much for listening. We appreciate you. We will continue to put our stuff on YouTube for a few more weeks. But definitely want to transition to one of our iTunes, SoundCloud, or Google Play, whichever one you prefer, for all our fun and excitement from SNM Sports.
All right. So, let's go.
And cut!
That was perfect.